This podcast is presented by Visa, a network working for everyone. Overcoming the odds, rewriting the playbook, delivering under pressure. The MVPs of small business lead their teams to victory all year long. Visa is proud to provide playmakers everywhere with more tools to help grow their business and help them achieve even greater success. Because the more people we can empower, the more we all win. Visa, a network working for everyone. The presenting sponsor for today's episode of Head of the Pack is Visa, a network working for everyone. Welcome back to the latest edition of Head of the Pack. I'm Matt Schneidman here with Bill Huber. I'm in the press box here in Jacksonville. Bill's back in Green Bay. And Bill, did it look any worse, any better on TV than it did here? I wrote tonight, it honestly looked worse than 38-3. I was stunned. I was shocked that the Packers laid such an egg. They came into this season with such high expectations. And yes, it's only one game. And, you know, the NFC North stinks, at least today. But it's inexcusable and embarrassing how the Packers played today.
Yeah, LaFleur said as much. He said ass-kicking, ass-whipping, one or the other. Rodgers used the phrase, kicked in the you-know-where. Yeah, nobody minced any words. This was awful in every which way imaginable. I mean, Joe Barry's defense, as much as these guys talked about energy and they're going to be better, I mean, they got their asses kicked. The offensive line got their asses kicked. Aaron Jones, who's one of the highest paid running backs in football, went nowhere. Rodgers looked like some schlub out there. There's literally nothing, Matt, to hang your hat on, other than the fact that last season the Tampa Bay Buccaneers lost 38-3 to the Saints. That's all I got for you. Podcast over.
And the thing that kind of stunned me the most, more so than perhaps, well, actually, what happened on the field stunned me the most, and we'll get into some of it in a little bit, but Aaron Rodgers was straight up asked, were you guys too full of yourselves entering this season with all the Super Bowl hype? And he said, yeah, I think you could say that. Like, this team just had, Matt LaFleur, not, 3 days ago, stood at the podium and essentially bragged that he had so many guys who received captain's votes, 27, 10 guys received double-digit votes. They named 7 guys captain because they supposedly have so many leaders on this team, so many guys whose example you should follow. There was not one guy on that field whose example was worth following tonight. I mean, there was no direction, and I don't see how the Packers can enter a season with after a preseason in which they preached their laser focus, their potential. Everyone says, we know how important this is because it could be Aaron's last ride, and you know, we're going at it and we know we can win a Super Bowl. 38-3? Are you kidding? And we can get into...
That's a great point on the captains, Matt. That's a great point. It makes you wonder if they have all this leadership and stuff, if it's just not excuse making. You know, they got their asses kicked, and you know what? It's a convenient, to use a Mike McCarthyism, it's a convenient excuse to blame it on that. I don't know. That's a great point. If you got 27 leaders, allegedly, how do you just fall on your face? I mean, they did nothing right. I mean, it's a great point, Matt. It's a fantastic point.
Literally nothing right. And, you know, Rodgers threw, and I wrote this today, there were plays here that weren't just, that's a, understandable mistake. Rodgers threw 2 interceptions that were entirely his fault, not like tip passes. He didn't throw an interception the first 5 games last season. He made a poor read on the second one. He should have just gotten rid of the ball on the first one. They had 2nd and 7 from the 9-yard line, a chance to keep the game alive, down 17-3 on their first drive of the second half. And instead of throwing it into the flat for Aaron Jones, they were on the Saints' 9-yard line, or throwing it away and just moving on to 3rd down. He took a hit, and as he was taking the hit, just flipped it to Devontae Adams, well behind him, and right into the hands of a Saints defensive back. And if not for their 311-pound left tackle, that was the best play of the game. I mean, Brian Gutekunst, who's sitting right behind me in the press box, he was pumped that Elton Jenkins took him down, and as he should be. That was a great play, and that was their best play of the day, and that just goes to show you how bad this game was. Rodgers is making uncharacteristic mistakes. Kevin King got burned again, just like the NFC Championship game. King and Shannon Sullivan bumped into each other in the end zone and left Juwan Johnson the Saints tight end wide open for a touchdown. They left Chris Hogan wide open for a touchdown with Shannon Sullivan chasing. Chris Hogan played in a professional lacrosse game. A Premier League lacrosse game 3 months ago. Yes, I know he's a proven NFL receiver, but come on. What are we doing here? It was inexcusable, and not only was it inexcusable the tangible stuff they did on the field, but the intangibles that everyone admitted for how they approached this game. I just don't know how you can, excuse this performance.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting, Matt, where LaFleur was asked about preseason. How he didn't play their guys. Obviously, the Saints played their guys for the preseason. I thought it was interesting that LaFleur didn't just dismiss it out of hand of calling it stupid second guessing or Monday morning quarterbacking. So I thought that was interesting. I understand that preseason is irrelevant. I understand that, for instance, the Baltimore Ravens lost their running back to a torn ACL because he played in preseason. I understand that the Packers' 2015 season was dead the minute Jordy Nelson tore his ACL against Pittsburgh. I understand all that.
Mm-hmm.
But like that Rodgers interception in the red zone, that's why you need preseason, I think. Because Rodgers doesn't get rushed like that on the practice field. It's the pocket presence thing, I thought, where, you know what, if he's taking a few hits, maybe he doesn't make that play. But it's his first time, or it's the first day, I should say, where he's had legitimate guys going after him. And he throws a boneheaded pass that if Jordan Love threw that ball, we'd all be questioning Jordan Love as being the logical successor to the quarterback. Maybe that's why you need preseason, just so the quarterback can get some of this out of his system, because it is just such an uncharacteristic mistake by a 3-time MVP quarterback.
Yeah, and he said there's no correlation in that regard, and I tend to believe him. They put up a 40 spot, 43-34, I believe it was, in the season opener against Minnesota last year in Minnesota after no preseason. They didn't play in the preseason 2 years ago, really, the starters. And, well, yeah, that game wasn't great on offense. It was 10-3, but the defense at least played well. So in the 2019 season opener with no preseason, really extensive time for the starters, the defense played really well. Last season's opener after no preseason, the offense played well. Today, there was nothing to hang their hat on. And, yes, in the grand scheme of things, it's not the end of the world. They play the Detroit Lions next week. They should win that game. They open as 11-point favorites. But there's nothing, and Matt LaFleur and Aaron Rodgers was both asked, is there anything you can take out of this game tonight? And they both said no. I mean, and they're right. There isn't. And I get the sense, Rodgers was far more cheery than I expected him to be in his post-game press conference. And I'm not going to say that's because he doesn't care, or people are saying online, oh, he came back to sabotage the Packers season. I think that's a joke. I hope it's a joke. But I think he understands that, listen, the last 2 seasons they've started off really hot, and it's come fluttering down in the playoffs, in the NFC Championship game. Maybe they just need a different formula. Maybe getting their tuchus handed to them in the season opener for the early season wake-up call instead of a mid-season or an NFC title game wake-up call is what they need. I kid, but there's really nothing to take away. The Packers averaged 2.9 yards per rush, couldn't get anyone going. I thought it was interesting, and I want your thoughts on this. Rodgers mentioned how the Saints essentially played a 2-shell, so 2 high safeties designed to make the Packers beat them via the run and via short passes, which is basically the Brandon Staley, Vic Fangio defense that Joe Barry is supposed to bring to New Orleans. The Packers have been facing it all camp and had no idea what to do against it today. They averaged 2.9 yards per rush on 15 rushes. 2 of 7 drives that Rodgers was in at quarterback lasted 6 plays or fewer. There was no chunk plays. There was no working their way down the field like the Saints did on consecutive 15-play touchdown drives. At least from a schematic standpoint, Dennis Allen totally outclassed the Packers, Matt LaFleur, and Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, this isn't the first time we've seen the Packers lose against this kind of defense, and you've got to run the ball. As you mentioned, you got to run the ball to beat this defense. And what gets you is they didn't try. It's like, and this isn't the first time we've seen LaFleur do this. They fall behind a bit early, and he just scraps the game plan. It was it wasn't 17-0 at the end of the first quarter. It was 3-0 at the end of the first quarter, and it's 10-0 early in the second. But you've got all the time in the world, even at 10-0, even at 17-0. You got the ball coming out of halftime. It's like, I don't want to say LaFleur panicked, but he just got away from the game. If the game plan was to run the ball to take advantage of what the Saints are giving him, he just totally got away from it. You let that possession where A.J. Dillon comes out and he has the back-to-back 6-yard runs, and it looks like they're going to get going. 1st and 10, they go play action, which is fine because they've run a lot of play action in the past and it's worked well. Rodgers takes a sack at 2nd and 21, and the drive's over. It's hard to run the ball when you don't. Aaron Jones, what do you have? 5 carries for 9 yards? I mean, that's not going to work.
5 carries for 9 yards. Kylan Hill, 5 for 14. A.J. Dillon, 4 for 19. But you make a good point. How many times have we heard Matt LaFleur after games say, "Oh, should have stuck with the run"? Enough with saying you should do it. Do it. Like, I understand you're behind and you make up deficits by throwing the ball with a quarterback who can throw the ball, or at least, in the past he's been able to. Not today, at least. I'm not saying I'm not saying he can't throw the ball anymore, but they were down 17-3. The game's not over. You have the highest scoring offense in the league from last year, pretty much all back. And why you would stray from the game plan. And Rodgers admitted today, maybe he was forcing it a little bit much because he was standing on the sideline for so long. That's inexcusable. You're a 17th-year quarterback. You're a 3rd-year head coach who just guided the best offense in the league last year. What do you mean you're forcing it? These are silly, not excuses, but rationale for why they did what they did. They weren't, Matt LaFleur said the Saints were hungrier. The Packers were too full of themselves. They didn't know the Saints were going to do this defense, and they couldn't adjust well enough. They abandoned the run. They forced it because they were on the bench for too long and got greedy. Like, that's Bishop Sycamore type stuff. That's not Green Bay Packers type stuff. What are they doing?
I don't know, Matt. They're lucky it's a 17-game season, and you've got time to, obviously you got all sorts of time to get back into this thing. Like I said, Tampa lost to the Saints by 35 last year too. But what gets you, Matt, is the importance of this game. I mean, the Saints and Packers probably are 2 of the best teams in the NFC. There might be a playoff rematch. And you got these guys in a quasi-home game without Michael Thomas. I mean, I hate to look so far down the road. You're talking about tiebreakers, but this game can come back and bite you in the ass. All because what? You thought you're going to steamroll these guys because you had all your guys back? And, man, I don't know. It is... I still come back to what you said before, man. If you got 27 leaders, how come none of them led?
That's a great point.
Brutal.
And Aaron Rodgers said, maybe we thought we were just going to march down the field on whoever they had. Ken Crawley was out. Traquan Smith was out. Marshawn Lattimore was questionable. I mean, Aaron Rodgers is in his 17th year in the league. To hear him say the Packers maybe thought they were just going to come in and march down the field on whoever the Saints had, maybe he's thought that at different times in his career, but to hear him say it is a little alarming. That the Packers are so full of themselves. Like, I asked Aaron Jones tonight, you guys have a team of proven veterans who know this can happen at any time. How do you come into a game just assuming you're going to win? And Aaron Jones used the word complacency. I just don't get it. I know I'm harping on the same point over and over. I just don't get how that's possible.
Yeah. Here's something, Matt. So, including playoffs, LaFleur's lost 9 games. He's 28-9. That's pretty damn good. 5 of their losses are by 15 or more points, including 3 by 28 or more. We've talked about this before, how these guys are front runners. It's like did they just roll over and quit again? After it's 17, not at 17-3. I mean, they didn't quit at halftime, but when they throw the interception, I don't know. When these guys lose, they just get trounced. It's like, where's the backbone in these guys?
Yeah.
That would be troublesome.
In 2019, it was the Chargers game, the 49ers game. The other regular season game they lost was a 7-point game against the Eagles. And then, obviously, the NFC title game. In 2020, it was the Buccaneers. The Vikings loss was a close game. And Who was the other team they lost to last regular season?
Oh, I had up on Pro Football Reference a while ago, and I have closed that window, but it's 5 out of 9.
We're going to get this. I'm not going anywhere until I get
we
this.
will get it up.
This is great podcasting.
The old
right
NFL
here.
GSIS site. Yeah, in 2020, they lost by 28 to Tampa. Then the other games were close.
And the Colts.
2019.
The Colts. That was an overtime game. This is
riveting podcasting here, folks.
No, so there are 3 losses.
They lost by 15. 15 to the Chargers, and they lost by 29 to San Francisco in the regular season. Then whatever the hell the NFC Championship game was, where they got routed again.
And then they had the loss to the Buccaneers last season. But then the other 2 losses were against the Colts and Vikings, and those were close losses. But yes, if they get down big in a game like early, yeah, they showed some signs of life before Rodgers' interception today. But it is a little disheartening if you're a Packer fan to see another one of these happen. Now, Matt LaFleur has not lost consecutive regular season games. I don't expect it to happen since they have the Lions on Monday night, home opener. Should be a full Lambeau Field, but, who knows? And I think I'm going to have to push my Elton Jenkins profile to next week because it's not fitting to run this week. I deserve to give you guys the answers you need to know after this game. Let's get to questions since we have a bunch, and I'm probably going to get kicked out of the press box here in Jacksonville soon. Seasons are changing, and so will your personal taste. Tired of the late-stage summer and ready for something new? Freshen up your fall with a change in decor, all while upgrading your comfort. That's where Brooklinen comes in. It's time to save big and invest in your comfort during Brooklinen's Labor Day sale happening now. Brooklinen makes beautiful, high-quality bedding and everything you need to make a house a home. Brooklinen makes bedding for every kind of sleeper. Whether you sleep hot, cold, or somewhere in the middle, they've got you covered Goldilocks. And it doesn't stop there. Bedroom all set? Make every day a spa day with a choice selection from their excellent and absorbent towel collection available in a number of colorways. Brooklinen has over 80,000 5-star reviews and counting, and there's a reason for that. Freshen up your fall with Brooklinen, the one-stop shop for comfort. Shop the Labor Day savings event now for savings on all things comfort. And if you can't decide right now, invest in your comfort with promo code ATHLETIC anytime. That's brooklinen.com, promo code ATHLETIC for $20 off. Today's episode is sponsored by the NBA in their quest to advance the game of basketball, grow the community, and impact culture. The league celebrates its teams, players, and fans across the past, present, and future as part of its 75th anniversary season. That's Game highlights pivotal moments on court and beyond, from iconic plays in arenas to the impact players have in the community. That's the NBA, that's Game. Like in the NBA Finals, when the Bucks had their back against the wall, Drew Holiday stole the ball, pushes the break, alley-oop to Giannis for an iconic slam, seals Game 5 in the eventual title for the Milwaukee Bucks. Milwaukee Brewers could win the MLB championship, the World Series. Packers, trifecta for Wisconsin? Probably not after today, but we'll see. But the Bucks did, and that's all Wisconsin needs for this year. Perhaps this is more than just basketball. It's what connects us all and keeps us coming back for more. That's the NBA. That's Game. All right. Okay. I got 90.
Was there a fire there or something, Matt, by the way?
Yeah, it smelled like it. I think it was from the floor above us. Something was burning. It wasn't like cigarette smoke or weed. It was like actual smoke. We couldn't see it, but we could smell it coming through the vents above us, but it went away. I started to pack up my stuff to leave, but we're good. Let's do a couple questions. I got 91 replies to my tweet. We'll just go in order. We don't want to keep you all night, so we'll answer a handful. Here we go. From Django, how long before Kevin King is finally gone are we going to get 2018 Rodgers all season? I'll answer the first one, you answer the second one, because you were here for 2018 Rodgers. I don't see how you can play Kevin King for much longer. I'm not saying Eric Stokes has shown you anything to spur this decision, but you got to at least try something. I mean, when I saw that ball floating from midfield out of Jameis Winston's hand and Kevin King looking up at that ball, you knew what was going to happen. Deontay Harris, who's probably the best kick punt returner in the league, blew by Kevin King, just like Scotty Miller did. You can't have a guy who's a liability out there. Stokes is at least faster. Stokes could at least catch up to that. Maybe his ball skills aren't great yet or top-notch, but at least have a guy who's in the vicinity to make a play. I don't think the Packers are going to make a change, but it has to at least be on their mind.
Yeah, Kevin King's here for a one-year contract. You're not married to the guy. You signed before you drafted Stokes in the first round. I would think it's a matter of time. As for Rodgers, no, Rodgers will bounce back. This is not 2018 Rodgers where he completes 62% of his passes. That will not be Rodgers. He's too good. And you mentioned earlier about people wondering if he's trying to sabotage a season. No. The guy wants to win.
Yeah.
He'll be better.
Stop that talk. Chris Martiska, is the result today going to accelerate Bakhtiari's return timeline? That is a big fat no. It's a fair question, Chris, but they're not going to let one game risk the long-term health of arguably the best offensive lineman when healthy in the NFL. Like I've said, I think he'll be back for week 9. I don't think he'll play on the short week against Washington or the following short week I shouldn't say the short week against Washington. I don't think he'll play on 3 practices against Washington in week 7 or the short week at Arizona in week 8, the Thursday night game. So my guess is he's back week 9 at Kansas City.
Yeah, you can't accelerate the timeline. The rules are the rules, and you're right, Matt. It's that Thursday game that bites you. Where he's not going to come back on a 1 day of practice week, not a chance. So yeah, week 9 is the logical timetable. They might wish and hope what they want, but the schedule is the schedule.
The schedule is the schedule, correct. From Brian Shart. That's some last name. Sorry, that was mean. How much do you think we'll see Jordan Love this season? Well, if they play like today, we'll see him quite a bit. He came in with 10 minutes, 46 seconds left in the game. Randall Cobb's first catch back with the Packers was a 32-yard completion from Jordan Love. I'm sure he didn't see that coming. Well, we won't feed the trolls and get into that whole Randall Cobb discussion right now. We can touch on that later. But if they keep getting their tails handed to him like this, we might see a lot of Jordan Love. I thought he had a couple nice throws. Obviously, the fumble that was recovered on the Saints' 2-yard line wasn't great, but he looked all right in there. Yeah, it's nice for him to get some in-game snaps, but, the Packers aren't maybe they use that as an evaluation for later, but that's not really something you hope to see. The Packers don't want to see Jordan Love in a game, unless it's obviously 38-3 the other way. But I don't expect them to lose like this badly in other games. Maybe they do one more time. If it happens 2 more times, there's a serious problem. But I don't think the expectation should be to see Jordan Love in these scenarios.
No, I think it was good for him to get his feet wet and get that first stuff out there, the first snap, the first completion. Good to get it out of the way. Otherwise, yeah, not relevant to anything whatsoever. Good question here from Connor Patrick. Are you guys getting a weird vibe from the players? I know no locker room access, but this team just feels a bit weird. Rodgers situation, Adams, Z, etc. just seems a few ticks off. Interesting question. I would say no. I just found it really interesting that they seem to really embrace this last dance thing. Nobody's running from it. Nobody's running from the expectations. I thought that was interesting. I don't sense a weird vibe. Maybe I'm wrong. How about you, Matt?
I don't. And even if we were in the locker room, I'm not sure we'd have a better gauge on it because we don't see the conversations that go on behind closed doors. I will say I agree with you in that everyone we've talked to seems to be embracing this as, we understand what happened. I'm paraphrasing here, but we understand what happened this summer. We understand this could be the last go-around with everyone. We're all bought in. We're going to win now. Forget whatever happens after this season, and that starts with number 12, 17, when 69 comes back, 33. Right now, I'm inclined to say this was just an anomaly, but if this continues and there seem to be more of the issues of loss of focus and this and that, then it might become a concern. But yeah, there are unknowns and there's stuff behind the scenes that could cause drama, like Zadarius Smith tweeting wow after he wasn't voted a captain, or Devontae Adams' contract extension, or Rodgers' future. But these guys are professionals. They know how to compartmentalize. They have to do it every week, and I see no reason why they shouldn't be able to this year.
Absolutely right.
Next question.
We got a whole bunch of Joe Barry questions. I'm going to start with this one.
Actually,
I'm not going to start. This will be the one all-encompassing Joe Barry question, Matt. Is it too soon to start discussing that Barry might have been the wrong guy?
Yeah, I think it's too soon. Listen, the run defense got better as the game went on, but guys are being left wide open. Adrian Amos said, the communication could have been better. How many times did we hear communications on the right page during training camp? You know, their gap integrity wasn't great. I didn't see too many missed tackles, but the coverage wasn't good. They got only 10 pressures on Jameis Winston with 0 sacks, 0 takeaways. It's just not good enough. And all we heard throughout training camp was, oh, we love Joe Barry because of his energy. Guess what? Energy doesn't matter for 2 shits if they can't play on the field. And I couldn't help but think, and I can't say this to, you know, Rob Domofsky next to me in the press box because Brian Gutekunst is sitting right behind me. I mean, I could, but I'm not going to. And Andy actually, I want to give a shout out to Andy Herman, Packers CEO of Packer Report, who had a great line. It's like the Packers thought, he said, and I'm paraphrasing here, I saw his tweet, I loved it. He said the Packers thought they could change their defensive success by changing the chef in the kitchen without changing any of the ingredients. They are trotting out the same exact guys with the exception of Devondre Campbell. Why do they think their run defense is going to be any better if the only guy they've added the last 2 years is TJ Slayton? Why do they think, you know, their pass defense and their tackling ability is going to be any better when they're trotting out the same exact guys? I mean, I understand you rely on those year-to-year improvements, but at some point, you can't just keep trotting out the same guys and expect better results. So I think it's obviously not entirely on Barry, but you couldn't have asked for a worse start for him for his tenure as defensive coordinator.
Only as good as your players, Matt. You're only as good as your players. And that defensive line, it's just been a sore spot year after year and year. And to get to your point about trotting out the same guys, Dean Lowry, Tyler Lancaster, you're talking about the same guys. They haven't been good enough against the run for years. Why would you expect them to be different? Za'Darius Smith is not a good run player. The Packers can't win if they don't get off to a fast start and force the other team to throw the ball. If the other team gets off to the fast start and they can run the football, the Packers are screwed.
Yep.
So, yeah, Andy's right. You're right. You can't play better run defense if you don't have better run defenders. Joe Barry can't control that.
Here we have a question from Chris in Maryville. WTF, question mark. That was it. That was the whole question. Next question.
Well said.
That's fair. I don't have an answer for that. Next question. From Joe at ND Cheesehead 2. Was this loss a good thing for the year overall? I'm not a huge believer. You know, Rodgers said, you know, maybe this will wake the guys up. Maybe this is the kick in the rear we needed. It's the first game of the season. You don't need a kick in the rear to start the season. You've had all offseason to work toward this. Maybe you need a kick in the rear if you've lost a couple games in a row or a slogging by like the Packers have in years past. You know, 2 years ago, they had those ugly wins, quote unquote. Then they got their doors blown off in Santa Clara. And maybe that was the kick in the rear they needed. Then they went on and finished the regular season on a 6-game winning streak. Same thing last year. Their loss to Indianapolis, then they finished the year on a 6-game winning streak. The kick in the rear can come in the middle of the season. Rodgers said after they lost to Tampa in the regular season last year, we had a bad week of practice. Guys just weren't focused. This is the kick in the rear we needed. But what is it now? All they've talked about is how well they've been practicing, how in sync they are. As in years past, Rodgers kind of implied he could see these kinds of games coming. Is it concerning that this one, everyone was kind of caught off guard by? The execution was just that terrible? I think that's a little concerning.
Yeah, you can't come out flat in week one. You can't. I mean, how can you look past the Saints, Matt? I don't care how damn good your offense was last year. I don't care how damn good you feel about your defensive coordinator. It's the New Orleans Saints, for God's sakes. I realize Drew Brees isn't the quarterback, but their roster is pretty damn good the last I checked. And if you're looking past them, that's a bad look by your leaders and your head coach.
Exactly. That's why I asked Aaron Jones that exact question. And it's unfortunate for Packer fans to hear him use the word complacency. I don't know how that's possible. It's September, which means football is back. And for many of us, there's no better way to celebrate and enjoy the games by having some skin in the game, which is why BetMGM remains the exclusive betting partner of The Athletic. And as a fan of The Athletic, you can bet $10 to win $50 plus a free 3-month subscription or extension to your subscription with The Athletic when you bet with BetMGM using our promo code. Just sign up at BetMGM.com and use the promo code TheAthleticPod at checkout to take advantage of this special offer from the King of Sportsbooks. That's bet $10 to win $50, plus 3 months free from The Athletic at betmgm.com, and using the promo code TheAthleticPod, no spaces, at checkout. New customer offer. Visit betmgm.com for terms and conditions.
21 years of age or older to wager. Arizona, Colorado, Washington, D.C., Indiana, Iowa, Michigan, New Jersey, Nevada, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, and West Virginia only. Excludes Michigan disassociated persons. Please gamble responsibly. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP in Arizona, 1-800-522-4700 in Colorado, Washington, D.C., Nevada, Wyoming, and Virginia, 1-800-270-7117 for confidential help in Michigan, 1-800-GAMBLER in Maryland, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and West Virginia, 1-800-BETS-OFF in Iowa. Call or text the Tennessee Red Line 800-889-9789 in Tennessee, or call 1-800-9-WITH-IT in Indiana.
Next question. What do you got?
I thought the defense. Oh, this is from Eric. The real Eric with a K. I thought the defense is going to be more aggressive or creative? Question mark. It seemed like that was not the case. I would love to see how many times they brought more than 4 rushers. I'm not sure about the number on that, but it's hard to be aggressive when the other teams run the ball pretty well. And it's really hard to be aggressive when you're losing. It's easy to be aggressive when you're winning and it's 3rd and 10 all the time. They didn't have many 3rd and 10s. And when they got some rush on Winston, they just lost contain on him. So
yeah,
I'm not sure how much you can point on that part of it.
I thought Jameis Winston was really good in the pocket today. Obviously, he poses much more of a scrambling threat than Drew Brees ever did. Adrian Amos said, most of their 3rd downs were 3rd and short, so the Packers couldn't really just unleash their pass rushers. And,
right.
When they did on that 4th and 7, they just dumped it off on a tight end screen. I think it was either Zadarius Smith or Rashawn Gary who came with his hands up in Winston's face. Whoa, sorry for that pause. My headphones I knocked my headphones out because I'm doing my hand motions. But on that 4th and 7, a simple tight end screen, Jair Alexander got blocked out of the play. The edge rusher couldn't get to Winston in time, and there were a lot of those where it felt like the edge rusher was right there, but Winston's pocket presence was great today. And as we've seen in years past, those short dump-offs turn into big gains. And, when the Saints had that 3rd and 13, they ran Alvin Kamara for 6 yards. And when a team is running on 3rd and 13, they know they can get at least 6 yards on you, and they know they're going for it on 4th and medium, 4th and long. That's an indictment on Joe Barry's defense, that another team, I don't care who it is, has that much confidence that they can just beat you in really important situations like that. So, yeah, Adrian Amos said that they didn't get them in enough 3rd and long situations. Their pass rushers weren't good when they did have the opportunity to rush the quarterback. I was not inspired by anything I saw from that defense today.
And a couple questions about the roughing.
And also, let me just say one more thing. 4th and 3 from the 3-yard line, and Dean Lowry jumps off sides. That's just a mental mistake. Forget the Zadarius Smith roughing the passer. That was a bad call. But, these mental mistakes. Dean Lowry is supposed to be a veteran on that defensive line. Jumping off sides to give the Saints a goal to go from the 1. I mean, that just can't happen.
A lot of mistakes. What do you think about the roughing the passer? I got a couple questions about that. I thought it was look, first of all, it's irrelevant to the game. The Packers the game was long since over. It makes no difference. But that was a horrible call, and it's such a bad look on where the NFL has gone. You can't hit anybody anymore. Zadarius Smith was guilty of hitting Jameis Winston hard. That was the guilty.
You're right. And I'm going to read a tweet from Terry McCauley, former NFL ref, who now I believe is the officiating rules expert for Sunday Night Football and NBC. He said, I don't see any aspect of this play that would make it a foul. It's not late. There is no forcible contact to the head or neck area, and he doesn't land at all on the QB with any body weight. There you go. Bad call. End of story.
Yeah, it was funny. I shouldn't say funny, but you watch the replay of that. Zadarius did everything possible not to squash Winston. He hit him, but then he got off him. And first of all, how these guys are able to do that is amazing. These guys are going full speed, and for Smith to have the wherewithal to hit him, but then not fall on top of him, not wrap him up, not drive him into the turf. Just kind of, it's amazing how good these athletes are that they can control their body to that regard. But
yep.
Yeah, he did everything perfectly, and he still gets flagged.
All right.
Not relevant to the game, though, Matt.
Nope, not at all. Well, it did negate an interception in the end zone, and that was returned quite a bit, and the Saints then went on and scored a touchdown. I'm not saying the Packers would have come back, but it did negate the one turnover they would have had. Let's get one.
I wonder if that
Go
cost
ahead.
Savage any possible incentive money.
It's possible.
So maybe he's pissed about that.
Who knows? Let's get 2 more questions in. What do we got? You got any good ones?
Yeah, I have to find it. Cecilia was asking about comparing this game. Cecilia Bugface, friend of the show, asking about comparing this to the Yankees of September.
Oh my
God!
The
Yankees
I don't want to talk. I don't want to talk about the Yankees right now. That's just mean. Cecilia, I thought you were better than that.
Actually, I didn't. I thought that was a great question, but I'm sorry.
Come on. All right, here's one question from Seth at the Tubbs99. He tweeted a picture of Rodgers kind of smirking on the sideline, down 38-3 in the fourth quarter, with the question, why won't we trade Aaron? He clearly has no intentions on being here. He 110% threw this game on purpose. No doubt in my mind. Stop. He didn't throw the game. He has an intention on being here this year. He's bought in. Whatever after next year, he's a world-class athlete. He can buy into this season and stay compartmentalized. Why you don't trade him is because when he's good, he's still arguably the best quarterback on planet Earth. I'm sorry, but that next question.
Yeah, that's just preposterous, Matt. The guy wants to win a Super Bowl, and they can trade him next year to some God-forbidden hellhole, and he'll have no chance to win a Super Bowl, right?
Yeah.
Of course he wants to win. He's not throwing games. Get the hell out of here.
Fair enough. Last question. Let's get a good one.
God, I'm looking at Matt. Everybody wants to know about is Joe Barry.
I have so many questions saying, hey, Matt, what the fuck? Well, I don't really have an answer to that. There are a lot of questions about Aaron Rodgers that aren't great questions.
Here we go.
Go ahead. Last one.
Max Power. It's only one game, but what a game. It's very hard to think of one question. But bigger problem, offensive line or receivers not getting open.
Yeah, post-game, people actually said they thought the offensive line played well.
Yeah.
Matt LaFleur did. Aaron Rodgers did. He said he thought Josh Myers and Royce Newman did well. If I'm not mistaken, the only sack Aaron Rodgers took was when he rolled out and Marcus Davenport didn't fall for the fake handoff. Correct. And it was kind of Rodgers' fault. And Rodgers admitted that it was his fault. So I would be more concerned about the wide receivers. And yes, that has you can credit that to the defense the Saints played. Kind of, Rodgers mentioned how they kind of kept their front four, front six as is. So guys on the back end weren't scrambling to step up into the second and first level with guys blitzing. And they were able to kind of stay back and keep everything in front of them. But yeah, it is concerning. I would say the wide receivers not getting open is far more concerning, and Randall Cobb couldn't even get on the field.
Yeah, I'd agree with that answer, Matt. And it's striking. How many times did Rodgers credit these receivers during training camp?
A bunch.
Like every week. Every week. About how special this group was, and this, Devontae is Devontae, and Marquez is really, really matured as a person. He's reading books that I got him from Barnes & Noble, even though he poo-poos that. Alan Lazard is this role player, and was that a swipe at MVS? Maybe it was. Yeah, week after week, just how special this group was, and yeah, come game time, there's just no one there. So and honestly, that surprised me.
Yep, that's what it was. They were absolutely embarrassed. My story's about to go up. Bill already has 19 stories up on SI. We appreciate you guys, as always, for sending in questions. You guys are great, although a bunch of them were profanity-laced. Luckily, we can read those on the show. But it's back to work for the Packers this week. Monday night game against the Lions at Lambeau. I'm sure the place will be packed. We'll be coming to you next Monday night, so episode out Tuesday morning. Until then, for Bill, I'm Matt. We'll talk to you guys later.
Does this sound familiar? You've got one device that lets you catch the game live, another that lets you stream your favorite shows, you're watching sports highlights on your phone, and you've got your neighbor's best friend's login for the good stuff. Well, I want to tell you about a simple way to get all that entertainment you love without the hassle, and a great way to finally get your TV together. It's called DirecTV Stream, and it brings your live TV and on-demand favorites together like never before, so you can watch your favorite sports, movies, and shows all in one place. That means no more juggling remotes and no need to buy another device ever again. And the best part? There's no annual contract. Yes, no annual contract. So get rid of the clutter and the confusion and get your TV together with DirecTV Stream. You can learn more at directtv.com. That's directtv.com. Compatible device required. Content varies by package.